Hello, this is Ryan Woodward recording a presentation on our virtual reality application that we built that teaches the physics principle of buoyancy. And we developed this for our human-computer interaction course at GCU as a part of the software engineering program. So just to begin, a brief agenda. I'm going to cover an introduction on the application and its background. I'll go through some of the hardware and software tools. I'll describe the functionality and features of the application, and then I will tie this back to a Christian worldview perspective. Following that, I will provide a brief demo of the application. So to begin, we've got the introduction and background of the application. The objective for this application was to provide an immersive experience for our users to learn buoyancy, to have an understanding of the physics, at least at a superficial level, and mostly the forces at play with buoyancy. The target audience are students and other enthusiasts interested in physics or any other VR user that might encounter our program. The platform we used was it was developed for the Meta Quest 2, or often called the Oculus Quest 2, as they are now owned by Meta. And that is what we used to develop this engaging learning experience. Next is some of the hardware and software tools that I and my team leveraged for the application, the development process. So to begin, we have specifically development tools, namely VS Code for editing C# scripts, and the Unity game engine to actually develop and compile all of the game objects, such as primitives, empty game objects, UI interfaces, etc. We designed the application, mostly the flow and the layout, the objectives of the application itself, using Canva and Lucidchart. For collaboration, we leveraged Discord for communication and Jira, not only for project management, but specifically for task management. And finally, for source control, we use Plastic, specifically to maintain the versions of the Unity projects we built, and GitHub specifically for those individual assets that we had that were easily transferable between those projects, such as C# scripts or prefabs that we had and imported into a Unity project. Next, I'll discuss some of the functionality and features of the application. So it begins, we have some intuitive controls. The users can pick up the remotes, and by looking at their hands, they can determine what the controls are, what the buttons do, the joysticks do, and such. And so it's very intuitive for them to actually learn how to do it. The application employs gaze-based navigation, so instead of turning a joystick to actually move the camera in the game, they can actually just rotate their head with the VR headset on it. Although we actually do implement joystick controls just for the sake of those instances where we might leverage a stationary work environment. The third important one is object interaction. So there are a variety of objects, such as interfaces, coaching cards, or primitives that the users can actually pick up, interact with, click buttons on, etc. And those are very important to actually create this immersive experience as a part of our application. We also provide feedback and guidance. For instance, if a user grabs an object for one, the object will kind of provide a little haptic feedback in the remote itself so that they know that they've successfully picked something up. And we also provide guidance in the form of coaching cards and user interface panels, such as they can see directions onto where to go, how to perform certain tasks, such as transferring to a new scene or resetting the scene. And as I described, we have haptic feedback, and guided experiments are specifically related to the objects that the user picks up and how it interacts with the source of water in the application itself. As you'll see, these objects are buoyant in in different degrees, and that's the idea that we're giving our users a way to experiment with buoyancy. And finally, we also have progress feedback in the form of transferring between scenes. Next, I want to tie the application back to a Christian worldview, specifically tying on to the ethics of software development and applications like this. So the first is the idea of sustainability and stewardship. We want to consider when building applications, not just virtual reality applications, but other even daily based ones, perhaps mobile applications. We want to consider the long-term impact of what these applications might have. That way we're not causing any harm or damage to any aspect of the real world. We should be striving for designs and applications that contribute, not remove, the well-being of individuals and society. A part of this is that we need to anticipate and mitigate any negative consequences involved with the technology that we're developing. Finally, we need to consider respect for human dignity. Part of this is user empowerment. We want our users to feel empowered and educated by their use of the experiences they have with our applications and what we build. The biggest way that we can do this actually is through the interface that we design. We want to respect autonomy and agency to the best that we can so that users can make informed decisions and have that feeling of freedom as they experience and learn from the experience they have. Okay, for the final portion, I will add a demo video of the application we built showing everything that the VR application entails. Thank you.